Hey everyone, Mistik here. Welcome back to the Should You Buy series where I review items in Graal Era. Within this series, each item is graded on its usefulness to the player, its rarity of it in game, and the demand it has with the player base. Afterwards, I touch on the price and history of the item as well as my opinion on whether it's worth its cost. My hope is by the end of the episode you'll have all the information you need to decide whether you want to purchase the item or not. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing one of the more cheaper supers. This item is one of the three that make up the candy set. The item I'm talking about is the Marshmallow Dagger. Let's get into it. Starting out with usefulness, there really isn't a lot to say about this item. As with most of the old super weapons, Marshmallow Dagger deals 8 damage at a fast speed. Obviously, this isn't anything special. Most weapons nowadays are just as good, if not better, and that is an issue for Marshmallow Dagger. Items like the 2014 St. Patrick's Day Dagger or most of the Crab Daggers also deal 8 damage at a fast speed, so there is very little reason to buy this weapon for damage purposes. Now, even with saying this, Marshmallow Dagger isn't a necessarily bad weapon. It can still kill both NPC enemies and players pretty easily as it does have that fast attack speed and a decent damage output. I just personally don't see the use when you could get a better weapon such as the stun gun for a quarter of its price. Because of this, I give it a 3 out of 10 in usefulness. Now, moving on to rarity, Marshmallow Dagger is an extremely hard one to gauge. This item has been out since almost the beginning of the game, and at the very least it predates trade tables. Because of this, it is really hard to get an accurate representation of the total amount of them in the game. However, when thinking about the fact that someone managed to hoard over 30 vanilla daggers just this year, I would put a similar item like Marshmallow Dagger at about 60 total in game. Now obviously many of these are long gone from the server, but I predict about 10 to 15 of them are still floating around trade tables. Obviously this makes a pretty not rare item, however that does factor into its relatively low price. Overall, Marshmallow Dagger deserves another 3 out of 10, but this time in rarity. With demand, this is probably the only reason Marshmallow Dagger isn't a super low price. Marshmallow Dagger is a historically important super as it was one of the first to be introduced into the game through auctions. It is considered one of the original supers, and because of that, it gains a lot of demand with the player base. The other reason there is quite a bit of demand with this item is because it's part of the candy set, which includes the Marshmallow Dagger, Choco Dagger, and Vanilla Dagger. This set is particularly sought after by collectors. The last thing that boosts its demand is that it is a fairly easy item to hoard, so many players look to do this, although this never really ends up being particularly lucrative. Overall, I would give Marshmallow Dagger a solid 7 out of 10 in demand. With that all out of the way, it is time to talk about Marshmallow Dagger's price. The same issues persist here as it is an extremely old item, so I can't accurately predict its entire past price history, however it has been fairly consistently low. The lowest I ever saw it was around the 8k mark, and the most expensive was about 18k. That particular price spike was due to a hoard, and the lowest point was when a hoard was released. All of these were fairly recent. Currently, Marshmallow Dagger sits around the 12 to 14k mark, which is a pretty mid-ranged price for it. While on the topic of hoarding this item though, I definitely do not recommend it, as I have done it a few times and the most I've ever profited was about 10k with a lot of time and resources invested. Marshmallow Dagger isn't an item that changes prices a lot, nor is it very predictable, so generally I prefer to just stay with flipping the item quickly as it is one of the best starter items to do so with. So moving on to my opinion on Marshmallow Dagger, overall I feel like this item is a buy even with the low ratings. Marsh has always been one of the key staples of trading in Graal Era. This is an item that is hoarded often, changes prices quickly and unpredictably, and is traded a lot by a lot of people. To me, these are really good items to have as you're never really gonna lose any shells on it and can usually wait and always sell for a profit later on. Not to mention, it is a good collector's item and it is part of the nostalgic feel within Graal Era. This is probably not the item to buy if you absolutely need all of your shells for something else, but I see no reason not to at least own one of the 3 candy melees, and to be honest, this is probably the best one of the 3. And with that, this is the end of the video. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like on the video as it does help me out a bunch. Also, leave a comment down below with your opinion on the Marshmallow Dagger. I always love hearing what you guys think about each of the items I do reviews on. And of course, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing as I keep everyone up to date on all Graal news, events, and items. I know that a bunch of you aren't subscribed, about 60% of you actually, so if you find yourself watching my videos a bunch, there's really no reason not to. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.